SkewMond on the Jarvan and also Labrov on the Rakan that could have enabled him to have these big wondrous shockwaves, but it felt like every fight was very messy, very disjointed, so a lot of question marks around the cohesion that's on G2, and it's going to be on Fnatic now as we get into draft to see how they can try and crack that mid lane once more.
What is the priority going to be? Kai'Sa taken away, as is the Rumble. Upset, of course, pretty stellar Kai'Sa performance yesterday. Fnatic even willing to pick it into some of the more difficult laning opponents, like the Corki. All right, Yoneal's going to hit the bench. Not too surprising.
Yeah, still things like Poppy could potentially go, Maokai could potentially go, Varus is still up and available as well, which I imagine will be the last ban here for Fnatic on red side. It's kind of been the go-to. And then it becomes a question of what is the priority for G2 on this first rotation.
What do they want to grab? It's a damn good question. Look, I'm going to say it. Aurora, I hate it. I think it looks terrible. I don't want to see it. I know there's context that's needed there, but I want to keep it short and simple, because now we're going to talk about the first pick with the Pantheon banned. It will be the Varus picked up, so pretty vanilla choice, obviously, but a very flexible champion overall. And I'm actually surprised to see Pantheon banned, but given how good it's been in the hands of SkewMond, I can understand why you'd want to take it away.
Yeah, also just the fact that it opens up things like we saw from Oscarinin yesterday, like the Warwick, where you can try and play for those side lanes, so not fully surprised. Ezreal going to be taken. I was about to say actually like Maokai whenever I see a Varus, because oftentimes even when he's playing at range, you can tend to lock him down or at least chase him down with that ultimate from the Maokai, but going for the point and click option instead of the Vi, which has had, I would say, very mixed results, especially when SkewMond's able to get his hands, I was going to say on the Maokai, the opposite side, to try and, like, as you go in with the Vi, throw out the twisted advance as well and keep her locked up, makes things significantly easier.
Yeah, it's interesting overall, because I agree with your read. Like, the Maokai in general is this strong champion who provides so much just about any competition that he's in, and Vi is a bit more of a feast or famine pick, and famine really has been the story for most of our junglers. Razork is the exception to that, right? So many perfect Q flashes, so many great early game plays. Now they're going to pair it with the Taliyah, try to get probably that strong jungle mid combo, but I do get worried as we get later in the game, right? The simplicity of setup, the just raw power of the champions that G2 have brought to the table is something that's going to have to be dealt with.
Yeah, I think especially since now coming into this next rotation, G2 can ban away some of the picks that Alistar doesn't particularly find attractive in the bottom lane and make things a bit easier. I feel like you got a very strong bot side of the map. The only one maybe is banning away top laners as well for G2, so then you can have Broken Blade. You will have to blind pick here. Maybe you want to go towards something like a Gnar, so you want to get rid of things that can be a little bit difficult for the Gnar in the lane, but either way, I think G2 have set themselves up with a very strong craft. And on the Fnatic side, I imagine it'll be the Azir final ban here as well, just kind of the go-to answer to a Taliyah in a lot of these matchups.
Would just make the threat of the scaling team fight of G2 that much more lethal. The early Alistar prio, I was originally caught off guard by, but I think when you have Vi on the enemy team, when you've got a Taliyah there as well, it's nice to have a support who, post level 6 at least, doesn't just get immediately deleted the second that they overstep even, a centimeter. Instead of the Azir, though, it's actually going to be the Victor. And it would be interesting. I wouldn't mind an Azir here. It's a bit tougher to the Taliyah as the dash is mitigated, but I do really want a little bit more proactive team fight engage. We hear a lot from the analyst desk and people that Alistar on his own isn't the best initial engage. It's a little too telegraphed, you know exactly what the range is. Maokai gives some of that. Wouldn't mind a little bit more for G2, but maybe they feel like they have enough, as the Braum is the hover here for Fnatic.
Yeah, I don't mind the Alistar in these situations where you're already having the enemy team kind of have to engage in on top of you with the Vi and that kind of stuff as well. And also, I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of our teams don't enable Alistar particularly well either. Like,
sure.
He does very well on situations where you're able to have flank angles, so then it's less telegraphed how he wants to try and make those plays. So we'll have to see if G2 can be a little bit stronger, but Jayce going into the mid lane. So I actually was looking at their comp saying, okay, maybe they wanted, with an Azir ban, to go for a Victor and a Jayce to try and make sure that they're able to have this like long-range poke, and they can try and keep Fnatic at bay and try and force their hand in a lot of these fights. And I think it's a good call here, especially when you already look at the Braum, not great on engage. Vi doesn't really like to be so low engage because it's very easier for her to be at range. So Fnatic have gone, well, I guess we're going to have to adapt and try and force ourselves into, I was going to say some sort of engage. I would have preferred the Ornn, because then you had that guaranteed engage, but this just feels a little difficult for Fnatic now, where the only person who has that go button is Razork, and there's no guarantee that he's not just going to be left out high to dry as soon as this Maokai ult is answered.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward, and you can understand why they would want to go for a tank, right? G2 essentially threatening a composition that is very AD heavy, while you do get some magic damage from the Varus, especially, I mean, depending on what build he goes, from the Blight stacks, from some of that on-hit damage, and from the Jax, like, it's still very, very AD heavy, and I guess they just decided K'Sante was a safe option.
I thought, like, the reason I liked Ornn is you're basically just going to lose in this top side. Like,
oh, for sure.
I think that's why the flex of the Jayce to mid was really smart from G2, because Jax is just going to have a great time against any sort of tank engage you bring it on the top side, but Ornn, at least, you would have that engage tool then when you got to the later fights, and you're playing against two relatively immobile AD champions that you want to try and pick off, so having that setup would have been fantastic. But now you're in this position where you're hoping your K'Sante can find some sort of access to the back line, but not really going to be guaranteed when you are playing into an Alistar, a Maokai. I mean, even things like the knockback from a Jayce can just shove K'Sante out of those fights.
Well, and I think that the big thing for me right now, in addition to that, is Jax, Sunder Sky, such a strong item in general. Things like the Unending Despair have been hit a couple of times, and K'Sante's been hit. So this champ isn't quite what it once was in terms of ability to just win out on these 1v1 fights out of nowhere. But we'll have to see. First game of the day, El Clasico, a return to G2 and Fnatic before our match of the week, which is also our winner's match. If you look at this little thing as a tournament, of course it is just a piece of our regular season, but it's nice to put a little perspective on it.
I'm so excited to see these two teams face up against each other. This is going to be such a banger series. Every time they go up against each other, it has been such a fun series. And already see Broken Blade and Oscarinin. What? Baby, Oscar, how could you do that?
That was incredibly rude.
Exactly. There's supposed to be a peace tree up there. That's not how that goes.
Okay. Guys. Oh my gosh. You're just hitting him with a lamp. Can I ask a question philosophically, Rob?
Yeah.
What is the difference between a real weapon and not a real weapon? Because while in Tofu seemed real, a lamp seems equally blunt and non-threat. I don't really... Do you think Jax is just edgy? Like, do you think that he doesn't actually have anything to be upset about?
I don't know, because, like, I've seen enough Kung Fu movies where they turn around and go, my hands are now lethal weapons. So clearly at some point in training, they become weapons. And I don't know exactly when that point is. I don't know if it's like you focus your chi or whatever it is and you hit that point, but like there's clearly something that happens that makes something a weapon, and I don't understand what that is.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Maybe people at home can let us know. In the meantime, it's a bit of a quiet start to this game. Chill, calm, nice bit of vision, spotting out Razork on the pathing there. We see a mirror on the opposite side. SkewMond taking the Krugs. Nice little pump back from Labrov. Of course, awkward thing here about picking the Alistar so early is that Mikyx gets this free Braum pick, and it might be awkward in the comp, depending on what the game looks like. But in the lane phase against melee champs, Braum, ooh, so damn good.
Yeah, very, very strong. And unfortunately, Labrov, even the heal there, used by Fnatic to just guarantee that they could continue to chase down and make him a little bit more miserable. 2 pots burned. Has the like innate heal on the passive to at least try and heal back a little bit, but it is very much less than ideal when you get immediately tap fight again.
Yeah. And reminder, if you are living under a rock, there's a reason this is El Clasico. It's one of the most played matches we've ever had here in LEC history, and it has gone in favor of G2 for quite some times, but whether it's nostalgia or delusion, we still believe in Fnatic, and it's not delusion now. I do think Fnatic looked better in their series yesterday, so despite the history, despite the fact that Fnatic seemed to always lose in the end in recent years, this is still one of our more storied matchups, our most storied rivalries.
Yeah, I mean, they only lose when it matters. That's kind of the problem with it.
It's true.
You know, you get those nice sturdy leads for yourself, unfortunately, in the season finals, and it just doesn't quite go your way. But I think Fnatic definitely are like in a decent position to fight back. Their team has looked spectacular with the addition of Duffman, and like they did win out in the regular season of Winter. It was just the playoffs, unfortunately, where G2 had them. So I think it'll be curious to see if once more they can prove that they kind of own the matchup in the regular season.
And set expectations, because every time we think we have the top 4 figured out, one of these best of 3s comes along and throws everything on its head. It felt like pretty clear. G2, KC, Fnatic, and then Fnatic lost to SK. Hey, maybe it's MKOI. MKOI are losing games. Everything up in the air. Fnatic currently 4-2, G2 3-2. Teams haven't played the same amount of series. We'll see who comes out on top. But Razork setting up for a first gank here. Mickey Q flash forward, looking to lock up Labrov. 1-2, stacks 3 and 4. That's the Q flash we were talking about. Champ select Labrov, gonna get taken out here. One tower shot comes through. Razork stunned up. Good damage back. Knife response from Hansama. Can they pursue another kill? The dive won't be there for the side of Fnatic. Upset walking away. An intense battle on the bottom side, but a 1-for-1.
Great turnaround by the G2 bot lane. Labrov getting the head buff underneath the tower, setting up for the return kill. Cap's going to get flicked underneath tower, will take a tower shot, but definitely controlling this match against Humanoid as Hansama forced to pop the barrier, but SkewMond in the area, and there are no flashes on this bot lane.
Potentially a bit of sunk cost fallacy here for Fnatic. Have they overstayed their welcome? No information on where SkewMond is. Bit of poke onto Upset. They need to get the hell out. Labrov hungry for a play. Nice little knockback. Mikyx looking for the lockup. He's not even able to get to the back power of the wall. A flash over. He's stunned again. Dashes back to Upset. Still living for an extra moment. SkewMond Q flash forward. Upset pushed back as well. And Fnatic's bottom lane. The initial play so good. It turns into a 1-for-1. And now punished for sticking around too long.
Yeah, but now in mid, Caps able to knock back Razork. Just looks like he's trying to pull the wave there instead of actually look for the play. But topside as well, BB looking for a huge amount of damage onto Oscarinin, but laid across the board, willing to scrap today, Drakos.
Look, I like the aggression. That's all I'm going to say. The stage, it does something to our players. For GX, it did a lot of really good things. Now we'll see if the same is true for Fnatic and G2 today. But frustrating. Early exchange for Fnatic again. Razork falling behind in gold despite being the one to kick off that initial proactive play. I guess the good news is Ezreal gets to go back. He buys the Sheen. You know, not too bad of a position. Yes, he has tier as well. We'll see how that matchup looks as we go further along. But I feel like once Labrov hits level 6, I'm just not worried for him anymore.
I was also going to say, we're not going to see the matchup because G2 are doing G2 things, which is immediately rotating Hansama and Labrov up to the top side, and now going to try and catch Oscarinin.
Oscarinin dash out. Not even a chance to use the Pathmaker. Will finally use it, but it's too late now. Flashing. Oscar walks away with his life. Ultimately, probably would have had to burn the flash anyway, but it is a little bit of an awkward sequence there. I think the Pathmaker probably just not off cooldown, so SkewMond going to grab the grubs. Traded for the Drake, a classic bit of League of Legends.
You do need to TP down here as Broken Blade, but there's a lot of members of Fnatic now on the way.
Double TP. Full committal. Broken Blade, you came to the wrong part of town, buddy. The question is, can he live this? 4 stacks, stun, knocked back there, punted into the wall. All out is Oscarinin. He can't cancel that one anymore. They're walking away, and the tower's gonna finish the job. BB still manages to get one. And in the meantime, Caps focusing down the mid lane tower. Fnatic just over-forcing.
How do you get a kill back in a 1v4? That should have been an easy shutdown for Fnatic, and it looked like Broken Blade was just gonna be bopped all over the place, but instead, they managed to get a kill. They're getting the plates mid, they're getting the waves top. Like, this is a pretty sizable pickup for Broken Blade and what should have been a disastrous moment for him.
And this is just the name of the game for G2. Fnatic, the ones consistently making these aggressive plays, trying to find the angle level 6 to level 6. Labrov here as well, Caps off to the side. They're in trouble now. Oscarinin has found the flank, but he doesn't have the ulti, trying to chase down Hansama. 1, and now 2 taken down. Mikyx running, burning, ticking. Caps grabbing that one. Hans getting a kill as well. It just looks effortless. Again, Fnatic fumbled the first few plays, and now it's G2's turn, and they're not missing a beat.
They try to re-enter into their weak side of the map, and G2 punish Fnatic well. Now you still got Hansama able to push onto this top side. SkewMond is stealing away camps from Razork in his own jungle as well, and it's just gone from bad to worse. Already a 2,000 gold lead opening up.
And this is not... This is very bad. This is bad for normal reasons, and it's also bad because you're playing against a comp with so much poke, with so much reach. You do not want to give them first setup. We know what Maokai looks like when he gets to ult, when you have to walk into him, and he looks broken as Oscarinin. Finding out first ban that there's not really a good way out of this one.
He doesn't have flash.
Nope, he's dead. Ooh, the minions extending that range. The footwork keeping him safe. Flash, Q, into the E, and auto to finish the job.
Yeah, this is not working out well for Fnatic at all. I mean, one of the things I wanted to highlight was you were like, oh, their team fighting is great. I mean, the side lane split push when your Jax has that much gold in the lead, gonna go pretty well as well. So it kind of feels like it's all there for G2.
You got poke. You got side lane.
You got gusto, kid.
You got gusto. I mean, Fnatic better hope that they are outmatching them in gusto at the very least. These plays, oof. If they don't have gusto, gusto might be all they have left on the side of Fnatic, Rob. This is a tough early game. Humanoid spotted out.
Left, I don't think.
SkewMond just walking away, getting a bit of poke. But again, G2, when you have a composition with the Maokai and poke champions and you get ahead, it is so oppressive for the enemy team. You've got Poke, you've got free vision, you've got an Alistar who in about just like 1 or 2 more creeps is going to be level 6 and free to face check whatever he wants. It's a tough road for Fnatic.
Yeah, I don't really know how you approach this now as Fnatic. Again, like, this is kind of the downside of your only real engage tool being Razork, who is now behind. Trying to start off fights where you're looking for a pick is quite difficult. Your best bet is to try and play around Humanoid, like look for the Weaver's Wall to separate G2, and maybe you can isolate someone to finish them off, but it's still going to be very difficult, especially as you see G2 are just constantly shifting around the map, now moving towards topside to punish Oscarinin again. His flash is just about to come up, but Broken Blade being visited on the bottom side at the same point.
If at first you don't succeed, try again. Third play on the bottom side for Fnatic. Oscar, still Cassante. Could be very squishy when he goes all out. Pathmaker going to be the big cooldown. Waiting for a long time. Is he going to delete it before he can even use it? He just dies. Am I missing something? Does the W key not work?
Well, wasn't able to tap it, unfortunately, which means that then the all-out doesn't come through. Broken Blade now moving to the mid lane as well. He's going to be able to cover this, a completely abandoned bot side, so there's no hope of a trade for Fnatic. And it'll be the first tower going over to G2.
And this is an incredibly dominant performance. The good news is Humanoid is getting something back, but what I thought coming into the day, what we heard from the desk is probably going to be a Fnatic favored matchup, is an absolute slaughter in favor of G2 thus far. They hit double feats, they're going to have the boots empowered, almost a 4K gold lead, picking up the next spawn of grubs. Despite not having the best control of lanes, will at least get one taken away to get the might spawn.
Still though, I mean, if G2 can get 5 of them here, they're going to be pretty happy with that, especially as you said, like, their split push is kind of obscene with Jax and Jayce, so I don't really know how you're going to try and answer for this in a lot of situations as Fnatic. Yes, you've got Jax is kind of behind when it comes to like experiencing that when you compare him to mid laners, but in the isolated 1v1 against Oscarinin, he has a substantial gold lead, and Caps as well, like, should be able to push these waves relatively handily as well, because that's one of the advantages about the AD versus AP matchup in a side lane. You have to burn through a lot of your mana as an AP side laner to deal with an AD push, whereas an AD player just gets to auto attack the wave and shove it in anyway, so you can have a lot of pressure there as Caps.
Definitely can. Look, some pretty big individual discrepancies. First items, at least matched in the mid lane for Humanoid and in the jungle, but topside, Oscarinin just working with bits and pieces. Upset still doesn't even have that Trinity Force. G2 gonna grab their first Drake of the game. Humanoid trying to make a play. Weaver's walled down. Hansama isolated. We'll get the ulti off, flashing off to the side, and now it's Humanoid in trouble. Patience on the flash. Key from Hansama, stepping up. The dragon will fall. Just the 1 kill, but again, what is the opposite of King Midas? What is the opposite of whatever you touch turns to gold, Rob? Every play Fnatic have started, they has put them further behind.
Yeah, it is. Look, I respect it from Humanoid, because that was kind of what we're saying, like, Fnatic kind of need to make some sort of play like that.
Right. Flash and response cleanse as well. Upset trying to get out. Flash. That's a lot of flashes. They're trying to save the day. Upset running, getting away, but he's going to burn down in the end. Razork now needs to get the hell out as well, because there's a TP on the way in, but Labrov, SkewMond going to back away.
Yeah, it's still not going well for Fnatic. Yeah. Upset getting caught there. Again, it's just G2 so quickly, immediately jumping on mid lane. And this has kind of been the talking point we've had for Fnatic, is how well they've been able to play off of mid lane push for Upset into plays. But you see here, we were talking about Humanoid needing to try and make some sort of play with a Weaver's Wall, try and go for someone that he can isolate. He thought Hansama was that person, but not respecting that Broken Blade hadn't shown on the top side, and they don't really have people on the map that can cover as well, like Razork in position to really follow up. And then Upset pushing up, thinking G2 would have shifted off into different directions of the map, but everyone on G2 going for him there.
And meanwhile, in the picture-in-picture, you can see Oscarinin going all out versus Broken Blade, and Broken Blade more than happy to just walk away. Q3 ready to go. Mikyx on the chase, flashing out. Just another quick hop away from Broken Blade. A few more seconds. Doesn't quite have a trinket, but he just won't need it. Walks away, hits him with the Happy Zed. Dagda, this is, you remember, okay, so yesterday, one of the big talking points was G2 just came off a loss. This is when they're their scariest. That was wrong. It's 2 losses. And then G2 come back and they're hella scary because this is not close for game 1 at all.
It is an absolute demolition. And I think, like, you've already kind of illuminated it. I don't know how you're supposed to come back. Like, a 5,000 gold lead at 14 minutes into the game is absolutely insane. It's just all of your characters and champions are still waiting to get into a point where they can actually have value. Whereas you're 2 items onto Jayce, you're nearly at 2 items on towards Varus, and they're just going to destroy you if you even try and contest anything.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it in draft. Part of the reason you wanted to see Ornn was another form of that reliable engage, is something you're missing with Mikyx on this Braum. It's great for the lane. It's good against the poke as we go later in the game. But you can't just pull the trigger. And if you're the one in the lead, if you're the one with the flanking vision, if you're the one whose Cassante gets to appear from Fog of War, it's easy to see how Fnatic could have played this game. The downside is when you fall behind, Labrov is now that champion. Broken Blade is now that champion appearing from Fog of War with all of that CC backed up by the poke, which on its own, in an even game state, would have been frustrating. But with these kind of leads, it's damn hard to deal with.
It kind of feels like those old 90s cartoons where you pull the trigger and the cannonball just falls out the front of the cannon. And then you look over to your right and G2 have just like destroyed a building entirely with theirs. It's like, oh, well, I guess that's how we do it.
G2 are the Roadrunner and Fnatic are Wile E. Coyote, and they bought a lot of bad explosives. It's just, that shit is not working.
No. It's they're standing safely on the cliff, and it's the front part of the cliff stays in the air, and the entire rest of the mountain falls.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it feels pretty harsh to call something a Looney Tunes early game, but it, you know, kind of was a Looney Tunes early game.
But you just kind of lift up the front of Fnatic, and it just says Acme underneath.
Yep. Yeah. The Acme early game not working at all. And now it's a lull in the action. Herald, I don't think this is a great time for Fnatic to respond. Again, they need to pick up side waves. They're behind on the push, which means they're behind on the vision setup. And even in a neutral state, Maokai gets back so much of that control for free. Now, bounties are on the board, so if there was ever a path to coming back in the game, there's at least some opportunities for additional gold influx on the side of Fnatic. But right now, Jack Spectra's sitting backstage saying Drakos is about to talk about mid-priority, and he's right, because without Varus loses in mid-prio to no one.
Especially a 5-kill Varus, you know? Which is kind of why he's just fine to dawdle by himself here. But the thing is, I don't even know if you really, like, at this stage as G2, you have the Rift out in your back pocket. You can just, I think, as you're about to see now, group as 4 or on mid and just hard force that tower. And I think that, well, they're going to do it as 3. I'm not sure if they're going to TP caps into the play. There it is, yeah. So hard force is 4 on the tower. And then you just have the Rift Tower for the tier 2s, which is a massive sum of gold for a bunch of these players. So I think this is where you're just going to see G2 just balloon even further into the lead. And I think if you just play for caps here off of the Rift Herald, that's just going to be a 3rd item for him, and it's not even 20 minutes into the game.
Which is crazy. Approaching your 3rd item before you even stack the tier is a sight we infrequently see. And look, normally in this game, like, gold can be misleading, right? A lot of times it's really just about item completions, more often than not, and control on the map. But Fnatic are very far behind in terms of item completions. So even though you could maybe argue a little bit of difference here and there, hey, mid lane's not too bad.
What if we dive Broken Blade for the 3rd time?
The first you don't succeed, try again. Hansama one-shots Razork before the fight even starts. Acme early game, striking again. Fnatic again. They have to go for plays.
Yeah.
They don't get to lose gracefully. There's no version of lose gracefully in scale. They don't have a clear path out scaling. So you know why they want to force. But G2 are ready. G2 see these plays coming and they're in a perfect spot to respond.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, where are the actual options for Fnatic to play? And it's not going to be around Oscarinin. And it has kind of been, for the last 4 years, I want to say, hey, let's make a play on Humanoid in a side lane, right? And that has steadily changed this split with the introduction of Duffman, but it definitely feels like when the chips are down and panic is setting in, Fnatic are going for these similar plays. So all the G2 are doing is running to where Humanoid is on the map and saying, cool, we'll catch you there.
And at the same time, what the hell are you going to do in the Cassante lane? This is the problem. There's a world where this champion isn't so far behind, but again, it all goes back to, one, the option in draft, but once they pick it, fumbling that initial dive, giving up so much gold.
Maybe they can give him real weapons.
He could go all out. But Rob, hilariously, that was the problem. If it was old Cassante, he could have canceled the all out and lived from the tower shot. And now, he's not a threat at all. They're hitting the tower in his face. And there's nothing he can do.
Yeah, he's kind of getting hit on the splashback as well, because that is, like, his health bar is just immediately gone. Iceborne Gauntlet is nothing against the amount of damage that G2 have right now. There's the Rift Tower we were talking about. I think it was more of like a celebratory Rift Tower, because that tower was dead anyway. And it will also get a charge, it looks like, on the inhibitor turret as well. So, actually, no, just interrupted there. But still, G2 run this game, and there is no hope for Fnatic.
Yeah. 5.4k gold lead. Look, I would love to tell you a different story. I would love to hear the crowd go crazy for some amazing comeback play. But Otacon in 13 seconds. Ruinous, so it's going to enhance the objectives. It's going to be more flowers. If G2 get that, if Fnatic steal it away and get a bunch of XP back, you know, there's beginnings of an idea of a comeback. Not a start of a comeback, it's the beginning of an idea of a comeback.
But the thing is, you have to steal it and win the ensuing fight so you can get the flowers. It's kind of the change with Otacon, is that, like, just stealing it never really feels
but here's the play. Humanoid trying to kick things off. Stopping the dashes, lockup is there. Mikyx blocking as much as he can. Oscarinin coming in, trying to peel, but Caps and Broken Blade are off to the side. Eyes on the counter-strike. Flash in, 3-man from Broken Blade. Lockup from Razork is there, but they just don't have the damage at this point in the game. G2 simply too far ahead. 2-man flick going in. Upset, good damage from the ulti. All members of Fnatic standing, but with blinking health bars. G2 still in control of the river, setting their sights on Otacon.
I think it was the seismic shove from Humanoid that interrupted Labrov there, and that may have just saved Fnatic, because he was about to get a headbutt pulverized to end all headbutt pulverizes, but G2 will just barely be out of reach, but they will still go down for the Otacon.
Take their time with it, don't lose anyone in the exchange, and they will get all the flowers. Well, Broken Blade will. That is his job. But yeah, you see the start of the fight here. Fnatic trying to force this, looking for the angle.
And there's just no damage. Like, Humanoid flashes away from Labrov, so he doesn't get sent back into the team, but the actual DPS into SkewMond, into Broken Blade just isn't really a thing. But I want you to watch, as they finish off here, watch Labrov. I think it... Oh no, actually, it looks like it was Oscarinen's Q3 that ends up interrupting him. And it's just, that could have been game ending right there. The fact that Fnatic, you get 2-3 kills off the back of that, plus you get Otacon and it starts to move in. Well, more game ending, I should say, but good interruption from Oscarinin to just barely keep Fnatic alive.
Very true. Now XP advantages. Humanoid at least staying a little bit ahead of the curve, but Upset you can see about a level behind Han Sama, about to tick over to 2-level difference between them. And it's rough. Look, the start of the fight, Humanoid, you can see why he's aggressive, but he just doesn't have the follow-up. Razork wasn't there, and with a champion like Braum, he goes in, he lays down the minefield. He can't flick anymore because there's suddenly a big cow and a big tree in front of his face.
There's also, it's so difficult to just get through. Like, Labrov popping Unbreakable Will, SkewMond even having to do an Ending Despair gives him a lot of tankiness as well. Like, just getting through the front line of G2, because they've been so far accelerated, is just really difficult. Like, look at the Maokai versus Vi, it's just a full item ahead.
Yep.
Like, even with the Liandry's Anguish, it's just tank Maokai for this regular point in the game, plus some AP to boot. Like, this is just so hard for Fnatic.
Yeah, and Plated Steel Cap, such an excellent buy against the Ezreal and the Vi being a lot of that burst damage. Sure, you know, Humanoid's going to hurt a bit, but he hasn't been in range, and if he burns his combo on you, I think you win the fight.
Well, we've seen a lot, like even... Oh, hang on.
Humanoid again, looking for the angle. Labrov walking in menacingly. No real follow from G2. Labrov likely to fall here. Unbreakable fading away now. Follow up there. Pick back. Nice little something to give some hope to the side of Fnatic, but it is still third Drake to G2. Cloud Soul 5 minutes out. Baron 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've seen a lot of tank gear members, whenever you're playing against Taliyah, actually just forego magic resist. Because it's like, yes, her initial burst hurts, and like, say you're an Orin or a Scion or something like this, you will lose about a quarter or fifth of your health bar. But her DPS just isn't consistent enough to really do anything to you. So the fact that you're just prioritizing armor, I think, is the right call here from SkewMond, where realistically it will be Upset's consistent DPS or Razork that actually cause you issues. And as long as there's no follow-up for a Humanoid, you're going to be completely quiet.
And has been completely fine thus far. 2-0-2. G2 10 kills to 3. 5K gold lead. You can read that, but it's, you know, it's good to remind people. Third item around the corner for Humanoid, but without burst damage, without follow-up, it's hard to envision how Fnatic can find one of these fights. They're trying to get side lane control. We've got 2 members placed top side, but as you see, G2 already have mid lane prio and are already removing what vision Fnatic does have from this pit area.
They would like to try and remove a couple of Fnatic members from this area as well, but at the moment just playing it slow, making sure they're actually clearing out all the vision. There's no way that someone like Oscarinin can TP in behind them. But I think you're fine. Like, just wait until these objectives are up. You've got 3 minutes until the potential cloud zone. Baron just about to spawn. And you're not, again, under pressure as G2. It's not like Fnatic hit a late game point in the outscale you. You basically go tit for tat, and honestly in side lanes with the Jacks, you kind of just win out anyway.
That's true. I mean, once that Zhonya's gets there for that Jax, even just that Seekers, becomes so impossible to find that pick on him. Maybe things get easier once K'Sante has the second item, but again,
he's just so far behind.
Yeah. Look, people get mad at Casher for narrative, but this is what they should get mad at us for, is just trying to find a way.
Yeah.
Because it will require G2 to fumble a little bit. It will require Fnatic to think of an angle that G2 just didn't even think was possible. And right now, they don't have that angle. They're broke. They're probably not very excited about being broke. They spent Razork's Vi in this game, which is going to be frustrating in the context of Fearless.
They're trying so hard to get any kind of vision that G2 just will not allow it. Mikyx goes up with the Unbreakable. Again, like, I actually am surprised G2 are playing it this calm, but maybe it's kind of a, hey, we fumbled the Baron yesterday, let's not do it again.
I mean, discipline, yeah, seems to be the name of the game, despite the gold lead that they have. I think you're right. They could go for more aggressive plays. They see the Unbreakable gone. Maybe that's a cue for them to go in, but respect to Humanoid's potential damage as he once again looks to set up a wall. That's the engage, kicking things off. Razork manages to find his target, but it's only the Ezreal ult to follow. Now the Vi deleted. The Maokai ult beautifully splits up the fight. All of Fnatic taken out. 3 members retreating now. Mid-jungle gone, and again, Fnatic try to find the proactive play, but G2 more than happy to just punish.
And G2 now moving over towards the Baron. Labrov going to try and play up into this corner and see if he can catch Fnatic if they try and contest, but I think they know what side their bread is buttered on. They're just going to walk away.
Both sides, it would appear. That bread is covered in butter.
They have some extra in the fridge as well.
Yeah.
They've got some for the popcorn. It's everywhere.
There's so much butter for G2. They're rolling in it. Lettuce, cheddar, butter. They've literally got all of it, Rob. Hansam is now level 16. And again, you see the fight, you see the vision.
But again, like, this is what we're talking about. As soon as the fight goes in, it's this just straight across the fight. That Maokai ultimate splits it up perfectly. You can't really follow up as Fnatic. And it buys that space for Caps, for Hansam in the backline, and just continue going forward. And this is why, like, when Vi started to become meta, we saw Maokai just be the de facto answer to her, is because you just press R at the same time and nobody can follow up on Vi.
Well, you can try, is what we've learned.
Yeah.
You can throw bodies, but it was not a quick path to success. And even Upset, struggling to do much in these fights. You can see he's playing Vampire Survivors. He needs his own little bullet hell, just trying to dodge all the random projectiles going at him while also dealing damage. G2, I mean, good discipline. Good punishes in the early game. I think draft overall feels so much simpler to execute, but they did such a great job just punishing Fnatic on all 3 or 4 of those early plays and then making just better plays of their own.
Yeah, I think it's the, as you say, the rotations from G2, which has kind of been, for me, the most impressive part of their game.
Razork started the fight. Hansama finds an initial bit of lockdown. Double knockup on the Hans. Maybe finally they can get that kill in the midst of the fight. The shutdown is there. Hans taking the equation. Caps completely untouched on the side, and now it's Mikyx who will fall. Oscarinin, Q3 ready to go. Manages to clip Caps. Maybe enough damage as he finally goes all out, dashing through Caps. Ready to go back in. Q3 gonna go, but the K'Sante just doesn't have the damage. Broken Blade still standing. Flashes forward, but will not get the stun. Humanoid retreating. Fnatic. Not a great fight, but they're not out of it yet.
You're going to have the TP coming back in from both solar laners on G2, though. Caps moving down to the tri-bush on the bottom side. G2 looks like they want to try and commit for more here.
Zoned away by the TP of Caps. Or Broken Blade, excuse me. Looking for the flick and will not find it. That'll be Soul to the side of G2. Finally, we see what Fnatic were looking for there. Combo, layered ultimates. Hansama deleted instantly, but in the ensuing fight, Just don't have the damage to get things done.
Yeah, the game has just slipped away too far. A good attempt from Fnatic, but now Soul for G2 makes it a little bit more difficult to try and lock down people like Caps or even SkewMond, who can now chase you down relentlessly after popping that ultimate. So Fnatic, they kind of need to find that plus more, and at this stage, they're starting to lose control of their own jungle.
That they are. I mean, they were already starting to lose control of their own jungle.
Yeah.
They've lost control of most things, but grouping, force. I mean, the problem is this play is good. It's just 15 minutes too late. 5,000 gold too late.
Yeah, and I think it's like, as you say, they immediately get on towards Han Sama, but crucially, like, Upset is actually able to follow up on the damage there, just get rooted on the back line as a result. But Caps managing to go in, goes a little bit too far, I will say, but Oscarinin just doesn't quite have the damage, especially as the to the skies, and then the form swap to get that empowered auto attack just to finish off Oscarinin. And Broken Blade doing a good job of keeping Upset and Humanoid away from Caps as he was that low.
Also ults him out of the flick back from Humanoid. And if he just had another half an item, if he wasn't quite so far behind, probably would have been able to finish that kill onto Caps. The Kasante burst damage and all out is still incredible. Wall used to clear at least this way, but the tower still falls. G2 continuing to walk up. And again, I think that the threat of 2 towers is really the only thing that's stopping G2 from just ending the game here. 10k gold lead.
You still have like good wave clear on Fnatic as well, so I think it will be kind of wait for Baron in 2 minutes time and then look to play through. But I will say this is a much more confident showing from G2, and like the things I was looking out for yesterday for G2 was how they use these lane swaps, and you heard me kind of talking about it a lot at the start of the games, were how they are doing this 4.5 minute rotation to try and get good positions for Han Sama, get good positions for Broken Blade, and yesterday it didn't pay off so well. But you're seeing like when they get these leads, this is when G2 feel at their most confident, is rotating around the map, playing through these strong points in the map, like crucially Han Sama getting those early kills, Broken Blade being able to survive and outplaying on the dives. It just sets them off so well, and then they know how to control the game and just deny Fnatic any sort of even looking or a chance at a look-in back into this game.
I mean, you could argue, if you want to be really pedantic in the last fights, hey, maybe a little positioning could have been better, but the amount of fights where G2 outplay, where they force Fnatic into these losing positions, far outweigh a single death here or there. Again, not a perfect game, but it feels almost as oppressive as a perfect game. The 4 kills and 2 towers, the little bits and bobs Fnatic have gotten back just feel meaningless in the face of the lead that G2 have amassed. Razork on the flank, but I think every single member on this lineup just too powerful. The fight will start anyway. Broken Blade zoning off. Now looks like he might just get locked up. Tower down. Humanoid coming in off to the side, but they just instantly turn their attention back. Caps good damage. Labrov there as well. Finds the stun. Flick back. Razork now down. Han Sama still standing. All the health bars remaining on the side of Fnatic are blinking, and they're about to be deleted. Oscarinin goes all out, but he's all out of options. He's all out of base. He's all out of teammates. And G2 gonna make quick work of this game 1.
32 minutes. But it was a domination from minute 2 for G2 as they look towards taking the Nexus turrets.
It was a slaughter. Fnatic thought they had some angles on some early plays. They fumbled it. And at that moment, G2 never gave them away back into the game. Dominance from G2 in game 1. Even as they take their time on the fountain time. What a way to kick things off.
Very impressive stuff from G2.